In the history of European royalty, few figures shine as brightly or controversially as Henrietta Maria of France. She was born into wealth and destined for greatness, as her life was full of success and tragedy alike. On November 25, 1609, Henrietta came into the world as the youngest daughter of King Henry IV of France and his second wife, Marie de Medici. From day one, she lived like a princess because she was one. Little did she know that her royal upbringing was just the beginning of a life filled with luxury, drama, and historical significance. At the age of 15, Henrietta got married to Charles, Prince of Wales, soon to become King Charles I of England, Scotland, and Ireland. This union intended to create an alliance between two great powers, but it instead became a source of tension and controversy. As part of her marriage settlement, she was granted several royal residences, including Somerset House, Greenwich Palace, and Oatlands. Henrietta Maria sailed to her new home with hopes of diplomatic ties, but also her steadfast Catholic faith. This devotion was about to collide with the Protestant sensibilities of her new kingdom. The young queen's arrival in England was met with a mix of curiosity and suspicion. Her Catholic faith was seen as a threat by many English Protestants, casting a shadow over her early years as queen. But Henrietta Maria was not one to be easily cowed. With characteristic determination, she set about making her mark on the English court, reflecting her love for luxury throughout the area. Despite all the challenges, she managed to live her life up to the mark. Henrietta loved beautiful things, and as queen, she could have whatever she wanted. She had her palace full of beautiful paintings. She hired famous artists and to make pictures for her. Her walls were covered in colorful masterpieces. Henrietta Maria didn't just look at art, she made it too. She loved putting on fancy plays called masques, and these weren't ordinary plays. They had music, dancing, and poetry all mixed together. The best part was that Henrietta often acted in them herself. Can you imagine a queen being an actress too? Another breathtaking way of showing beauty for her was something unique. She was crazy about gardens and adorning them with the most fancy and beautiful plants. She brought in a top French gardener named André Mollet to make her palaces look stunning. He created fancy gardens with special shapes and designs. Henrietta even shipped in rare flowers and trees from France. Her gardens were so pretty, everyone wanted to copy them. The royalty showed even in the way she dressed up. Henrietta had special fashion designers make her dresses who used the finest silks and covered them in jewels, wearing beautiful garments, jewels, and crowned with elaborately styled hair that became the envy of every lady at court who later started copying her style. When she walked into a room, all eyes were on her. If you're fond of such luxuries as well, then subscribe your way to our royal content. Henrietta's royal taste was reflected in several cuisine choices as well. She was said to have a passion for confectionery and sweetmeats. Her personal recipe collection published as contained. There are even legends that her husband Charles I hired a French chef to create the first ice cream served at the English cabillaud. The queen had an exclusive taste in animals, and she was known to have exotic pets. Her collection included monkeys, parrots, and other rare birds that she had imported from abroad. Henrietta's love of unusual pets was seen as eccentric and even scandalous by some in the more strict English court. But it reflected her extravagant French sensibilities and love of luxury. But Henrietta Maria's life wasn't all about art and fashion. Big troubles were coming. As tensions in England grew, she would soon face challenges that would test her strength and determination. When civil war erupted in 1642, the queen threw herself wholeheartedly into supporting the royalist cause. She found herself thrust into the role of political advisor to her husband. In 1644, with the royalist position growing desperate, Henrietta Maria took on a daring mission. She sailed to France, her homeland, to raise funds and troops for her husband, and it showed her courage and determination, but also marked the beginning of a long and painful separation. As the tide of war turned against the royalists, Henrietta Maria was forced to remain in exile in France. She would never see her husband again. In 1649, news reached her that Charles had been captured, tried, and executed by Parliament. It was a devastating blow, one that would haunt her for the rest of her life. In the years that followed, Henrietta Maria found solace in her faith. She founded a convent at Chaillot, near Paris, where she spent much of her later life. Even in her final years, Henrietta Maria's life was a blend of the spiritual and the regal. She created a mini-court in the convent, hosting exiled royalists and maintaining a touch of her former luxuries. Henrietta Maria's story, however, was not yet over. In 1660, in a miraculous twist of fate, her eldest son was restored to the English throne as Charles II. The exiled queen returned briefly to England, but found it much changed. The court she had once presided over was gone, replaced by a more sober Protestant regime. In her final years, Henrietta divided her time between England and France. Looking back on her life, it's easy to be amazed by the extravagance of her lifestyle. The palaces, the artworks, the fashions all speak to a woman who lived life on the grandest possible scale. Yet to focus solely on these material aspects would be to miss the deeper significance of her story. Henrietta Maria was a woman who lived in extraordinary times and rose to meet extraordinary challenges. Her Catholic faith, which caused her so much difficulty in Protestant England, was also a source of strength and comfort throughout her tumultuous life. From the heights of queenly power to the depths of exile and loss, Henrietta Maria's journey was truly extraordinary. She died in 1669 at the age of 59, leaving behind a legacy as complex and multifaceted as the woman herself. Her legacy lives on in the art she patronized, the gardens she cultivated, and the indomitable spirit she displayed throughout her remarkable life.